Summit or Little Pine Aid Station 1, you know where they're calling from and where their traffic is coming from. He is really good at making maps. He's got this map going down cold, so this is the 5K course, so he issues that to us. So the runners start at Castle Rock Park, come along here to this park boundary aid station, come up here to the turnaround point, and then go back to Castle Rock Park again, and that's 5K. And the 10K course is a little bit longer than that, again starting at Castle Rock Park, coming to the first aid station, coming out here around the curve that way to another aid station a little bit further up here, turnaround point, back to this aid station, then back to Castle Rock Park. So that's the 10K course. And these maps are really nice because it helps us locate where we're getting traffic from other ham radio operators, and it lets us know where our assignments are. They are assigned, each runner has a bib number, which sits on their chest like this, with 2 or 3 or 4 digits here. Sometimes they get put on the leg, sometimes they get put on the back, sometimes they're on the other leg. So a lot of times it's really hard to find the bib number that you're supposed to be writing down and keeping track of. So even that introduces a certain amount of inaccuracy in this particular method of keeping track of the runners. Lead ham establishes the frequencies to be used, and we are supposed to put the frequencies in our own radios before we get there. And established assignment location is also on that particular assignment sheet. Sometimes they will assign the same position as last year. That's more efficient because you know the ins and outs of that particular location because you've been there once or twice. And if you give that same assignment to the next year, then it makes your job so much easier, and it makes it easier for the lead ham as well. So if you're in a new location, you have to learn the communication needs of that location. Can you get by with an HT, or do you have to have an extended antenna on your HT, or do you need something like a mobile rig, a little bit more power to get to the net control person? Also, you have to worry about hills and valleys and buildings and flat ground or water that might be between you and where your signal has to go, either to a repeater or to, if you're using simplex, get to where the net control station is located. And there's also distance and direction to the repeater that has to be accounted for. I was working in the San Francisco Marathon the past 2 or 3 years, and I asked for a difficult position because I wanted somewhat of a challenge to my antennas and my radios. So they stuck me down at the bottom end of Golden Gate Park, and I asked where the repeater was located, and they said on top of top of Twin Peaks. So I had to get out a map and locate my position on the map in the bottom of Golden Gate Park and find out where Twin Peaks was, and then kind of aim my antenna in that direction to get the best possible communication possibility there. And it worked, so I was really glad about that. Again, on that first sheet that I showed, they usually publish rules for the event, and some of the rules are involving ham radio operators as well, so we have to keep in mind all the rules that come down from the event organizers through the lead ham to each one of the hams that are going to be participating. Also, we have to review the operational requirements of our location. You can either use an HT. I use my VX7 HT a lot of times. I use my mobile radio. I have a FT 8900 dual bander in my car. I have a portable rig. I'll run this around real quick so everybody can see it. Okay, are there any questions? Okay, I've got a gel cell battery in the bottom. I've got a step stool for my bathroom sitting here in the middle. I have a platform that my FT 2900 sits on. The step stool is U-bracketed to the pole in the back, so it won't go anywhere, hopefully. And the FT 2900 sits between screws so it doesn't slide too far. I have a speaker mounted here which plugs into the back of the radio. The mic is here on a mic stand. And I have a device called What's Up, which tells you it's a voltmeter, amp meter, watt meter combination. It flips back and forth between all those values, and it's mainly there for keeping track of my battery voltage. If my battery voltage goes down too far, then I either stop transmitting or I go someplace else. A frequency chart that I keep with this rig, so if I need to find a particular frequency that's assigned for that particular location or for that particular event, I can look it up on here rather than having to program a whole new frequency into my radio. And there's a nifty manual which comes for most radios that helps give you programming hints and how to do on-the-spot programming. However, I like my own cheat sheet. I made a cheat sheet of how to do it for myself, in which I push the button and I note down here what the result is supposed to be. If I don't see that result, then I know I've done something wrong. So this goes a little bit further than the nifty mini manual, and I prefer my own sheet very much over that other one. And of course, you take your owner's manual in case you come up with something that. Next, you select your antenna. You pick an antenna for your assignment. Height, directionality. I use the elk for that, which I'll be demonstrating in a minute. It's sitting right in front of Art there. Take good care of it, Art. We'll need that. And also I use an omnidirectional antenna, which is a J pole. It has 3 poles that stick up, one really long one medium-sized one, and one kind of short one. And you stick the coax on the medium-sized one. And I also use the mag mount, which I demonstrated there. And also I have my antennas for my HT as well. Here we are. This is an elk antenna. It's made in Pittsburgh, California by the former president of the Mount Diablo Amateur Radio Club, Jim Siemens. It's called a log periodic antenna in that it has the 2 conductors are on the 2 poles here, rather than just having the coax come into this leg, this side of this leg and this side of this leg. All the elements are active because they're all connected to either that rod or that rod. And this has a very, very flat S-curve across the band, the 2-meter band and the 440 band. That's the advantage of these log periodic, exactly. That's the advantage of the log periodic style of antenna. It has a very flat band up in the middle on both the 440 and the 2 meter. So this is a dual band antenna. And that where these elements are shorter than these elements, so the direction that you're going to aim this toward is that way. And then the coax connector is right here on this end. I read the QST magazine once in a while, and 3 or 4 months ago they came up with this idea for setting up an antenna base. May I? Absolutely. This is the guts of one of these wheels that comes down on the front of a trailer. The trailer, and you flop it down and you set the wheel on the ground, and when you park the trailer, this thing supports the fork end of the trailer. When you're going to connect the trailer to your car, you put the trailer on the car, the ball on the car, and then fold the wheel back up again. And that's what this mechanism is basically. Get it? It turns, yes. Okay, so what you want to do is get your mast. I usually save this for when I have a 20-foot mast. Stick the mast in here, and if I remember to pull this thing out, you can walk the mast up like this till it gets to be vertical, and it snaps into place and stays there. Now I should mention that I run my vehicle tire onto this space right here, so that this thing is firmly anchored to the ground. And I like to run my coax down the inside of my mast. So to get the coax out of the mast before it reaches here, I have an adapter here. The mast pole comes down here. I usually use 10-foot mast poles, but because Art said we couldn't mess with the ceiling in here, I settled for a 5-foot pole. But that's not going to work either. But then they can't see the action.
Put it over there. Turn it sideways. Go outside and run your car on
Oh, don't hit anybody in the head with it.
Okay. So I stick my 20-foot mast in the hole here, run the coax down here through this, and it all comes out here. And it looks all very neat because the coax stays inside the pipe. And then he'll be my car tire, Art. Thank you. Oh, look at that.
Well planned.
Thank you, Art. That email was very timely. Okay, I can't put any antennas on there, unfortunately, but anyway, that illustrates with this the base mounting thing here. Can you handle that, Art? This would go on top of the mast. This would come down to the bottom here and clamp this pole, the PVC, onto the metal mast so it doesn't twist.
Somebody had to do that.
They come with a little key on it?
No,
Hi Chuck, this is Larry. I'm at Benicia Amateur Radio Club.
no, call us back, Charlie.
Hey, speak to Art. You tell him, Art. Okay.
We're done. So,
These come from Ace Hardware. I found these things just recently, so it's a whole lot more convenient than taking a
he's
screwdriver to
giving
it.
his talk.
I put this on the bottom,
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and
Bye-bye.
this thing has
Just remind him, stop at the core and lock up.
okay, bye-bye.
Thanks.
this thing has a slit in, so I can pinch in on here with the hose clamp, and that pinches it onto the top end of the mast there, and it keeps it from turning. One year I was up on top of Altamont Pass, and I kept losing my signal. And I couldn't figure out why that was. And then I look up there, and here's the antenna swinging in the breeze like this, and I'm losing my directionality. So when I got home, I put a slit in here and got a hose clamp on here so I could clamp it onto the pole, and if it did decide to turn, at least I could grab the pole and turn it, and the pole kind of bring the thing all the way down and re-aim it again.
You know, the mounting that you have on the elk itself, what is standard with the elk, and what did you create?
That is standard for elk.
Okay, so that's the way it comes.
It comes with a handle out here also with a nice rubber gripping
Yeah,
thing on it, so you can use it for
Yeah,
radio direction finding.
So how much does that cost about?
It depends on whether or not you know Jim Siemens or not.
Yeah.
I think they're somewhere in the low 100s.
125. 125.
Then to add this and everything, how much would that cost?
You get this at Harbor Freight, it's probably $15.95. I went over to AutoZone and got it for $30
Oh.
because I wanted to get going quick on it and
Right.
have it available to me. So I didn't know if these are available at Harbor Freight at the time, so I didn't pursue Harbor Freight until after I was finished with the other thing. So anyway,
What is this thing called?
Good.
trailer stand mount gizmo thing with a wheel on the bottom.
It's a trailer tongue jack.
Thank you.
Trailer
Trailer tongue
Jack. Okay.
So it's on a trailer tongue, and it folds down and back up again, and it holds it up to and it has a crank on it too, so you can raise the tongue up and down, and it has a wheel so you can scoot it forward and back. Thank you.
How do you got it?
The cable comes out off of here and down the center.
When you're in the field, you gotta push it through, or?
Yes, correct. Now just set this all up,
How
lay it down on
heavy
the
is
ground,
that?
and
How
run my
heavy
coax
is it?
up through the mast, up the top here, and then make a
About 30
big
pounds.
fat loop here and come around to the coax connect. It twists it like that, and go up the hill to where the repeater was located. Also, I could aim it this way.
So you just friction.
Yeah, the press fit, right. 'Cause I like to be able to take it apart after the event and stick it in my car.
Is that all schedule I need? Or 40? Schedule 40.
Okay, this has to be schedule 100 because Schedule 40 won't go over the top of the master section. So this little section and this little section are schedule 100. Otherwise, all the rest of it's schedule 40. Any other questions, Art?
No, I'm.
Overwhelmed, okay.
I'm in awe.
You what?
I'm in awe. Oh, I was gonna use the word speechless, but Andrea would laugh at me.
Well, so would I. I keep all my accessories and adapters in here. The adapters are in this green box, green plastic box. There's a headphone J-pole antenna here for dire emergencies, and other stuff. Anyway, this is my accessories bag that I take with me. And you saw the watch on the side of my clipboard there. That's for logging times and messages that come through that I want to keep track of. Lighting for the clipboard. That is something I've never thought of before, but when I got to assignment at 5 o'clock one morning up in Santa Rosa, it was dark. And the guy at the checkpoint had a flashlight, and the lights from his van that brought all the supplies for the checkpoint. So we just had his flashlight and the van lights to light up the whole area where we were trying to set up a checkpoint and a aid station. So from now on, I'm going to bring a light that would light my clipboard so I can see what instructions I have, and if they even start the event going when it's dark in my location, at least I'll have some light where I can keep track of what's going on. Many times when the racers come through, they say, "What mile is this? What mile?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I'll need to go look it up." So if I have a tripod and a whiteboard, I can say mile 4.5. 6 miles to go till the finish, or some nice information like that would keep them interested in what's going on. I won't have to go chase the information for them, and I'm sure that would be a really helpful piece of information, so they'd be sitting right in front of them. They won't have to stop and ask. Often, I take an inverter with this particular setup if necessary to run a wall wart or two for charging things. For the new people here, a wall wart is one of these little transformers that makes lower voltage electricity so that you can charge a phone or something like that. If I'm using my mobile unit, of course, mobile unit, I'll use the vehicle battery. I have a Watts Up thing, which I ran past really briefly here. I have a cigarette, or an accessory port. I guess it's not a cigarette port and cigarette lighter port anymore. It's an accessory port on the newer cars. I have an adapter to a power pole, so I plug this into the power pole adapter in my accessory port, and this will show me the battery voltage for my car, amongst other things. This end I usually don't connect it to anything. I just use it as a voltage monitor for my car battery, and that way I can keep track of when I get down to 10 volts in my car battery. I don't plan to go anywhere with it, so I try and keep it down to about 11.5 as my low point, and start the engine up again and let it run for 3 or 4 minutes to recharge it again.
And those look like Anderson connectors.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
power-
Well, you've got a good eye. I run Anderson power poles exclusively on all my power distribution equipment, just so that there's no question about that this is going to connect together with that. That RACES over in Contra Costa County is kind of standardized on power poles, connectors. And that was done so we could be interoperable. If we could use my battery with somebody else's radio or somebody else's charging system, we standardized on the power pole connectors. You can run that around the room if you like. Once in a while you get shore power available to wherever you're going out on your deployments. At the Castle Rock Park, where we showed you on the maps for the Mount Diablo activities, they did have extension cord and shore power available at that location, but they were using that to make coffee and running the computer equipment for the timing of the individual runners, so that I didn't bother to go see if I could stick my extension cord onto their cord, and I just powered my entire setup from the gel cell battery. And you must bring fuses. Go through all your equipment and find out exactly what fuses you have, what each size is, and make sure you got spares. I was lazy and I didn't do that. I just got a package of 5, 10s, 15s, 20s, 25s, and 30s and put them in my fuse bag, and I figured from that way I'm covered for whatever I'm going to need. Earphone or headset for noisy areas. At the start-finish line on the activity which I just showed you, the timing people and the event organizers love to have music to perk up the groups, especially when they're getting ready to get turned loose at the start line. And so they always love to play loud music to get everybody pepped up and happy and ready to start the race. And of course that is very negative as far as I'm concerned, because I can't hear what my net control person is trying to tell me, or I can't hear what anybody else on the radio system is trying to say. So he and I have struck an agreement that after all the racers have taken off, that I am allowed to turn the last speaker closest to me away from where I am located and turn the volume way down. And in turn for that, he gets to get all the input that I receive at the start-finish line from my fellow hams to tell where the first runner is located. Locating the first male runner and the first female runner is very important to these people, because they can know how well the trails are operated, and the quality of the trails, and how well the runners are running, especially the lead runner of each sex. So he allows me to play with the speaker volume in trade for the information I feed him on how well the racers are doing. That clip onto the rings, so that if I get into a windy situation, I can always set up one of the guy wires and aid in the direction from which the wind is coming, and I don't get this swaying of my antenna mast.
What do you use for ground anchor?
I've got some these dog
screws.
Dog screws, yeah. Just corkscrew, you screw it into the ground and then clip it onto the ring at the top of the dog screw. Thank you.
Do you use rope, or do you actually use wire?
I use rope.
Okay.
It's so much easier to deal with, and it's nice and soft too. I like the nylon rope because it is soft and easy to handle. Remote speaker, if I'm in a group at the Castle Rock Park, on most of the activities that we have there for Save Mount Diablo, the Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue Team has their lead group right there situated next to us, so we can communicate with each other. And so I plug in my speaker that's on the pipe there, and they're able to hear the ham talk as the emails that I get from the event organizers talking about the frequencies and the assignment sheets and what you need to bring and what the event organizers that want the hams to do, and all the other instructions that come along. And then I've got to find out where the assignment is located too. So I spend sometimes 2 or 3 hours before each activity figuring out all this stuff that I can do at home, so it makes my arrival and setup so much easier when I get to my assignment. So event paperwork is important. They suggest bringing a hat and dark glasses and reading glasses. Reading glasses so that when you're waiting in between calls and you need to have something to do, you can bring a QST magazine or other periodical that's ham related and entertain yourself that way until your radio crackles again at you. Bring sunscreen. They suggest bringing rain gear for the time if it does get really foggy and drippy, or if sometimes they run an event in the rain, whether it's raining or not. So sometimes you might have to get your rain gear out. An umbrella is suggested both for rain shielding and sun shielding. I've been out on an assignment next to the Pacific Ocean at a particular rest stop, and it was a very sunny day, and so I set up a table and my radio gear, and then had an umbrella above me to keep the sun off me. And I was very glad I went to the trouble of bringing the umbrella along. Okay, bring in bottles of water and snacks, because you might be there for 6 or 7 hours. Generally, assignments are at a rest stop, and rest stops are well known for having snacks and things like that. So if you take time off or take your HT over and walk over and grab a snack or two and then come back to where you set up your station, that's quite permissible. Clipboard, pen and paper. I have modified this clipboard slightly.
Oh.
I sometimes walk around with it and like walking to the men's room or walking to talk to the race organizer. I still want to keep my radio with me, so I have the radio sitting here in the pouch in the back. This is a piece of 3-inch PVC which I strapped onto the back end of the clipboard. Also, I have my watch clipped on this side, so when a message comes in, I can write down the time and the message on my paper. I don't have to go fumbling for my watch on my wrist. The time is right here. Also, I sometimes use a tiger tail, which is an extension that is on the grounded part of your antenna, which goes down this way about 19¼ inches. And there's a hole drilled in the bottom of this little cup for my tiger tail. So that's the setup I use when I'm walking around. Signal located there. I sometimes have to have the bicycle riders stay over to the right-hand side of the curb, especially when the light is red, so they don't block the lane of traffic. So I usually use my a megaphone to ask them to stay over toward the side. Also, on another location where there was a steep hill, the riders are coming down the hill, and there was a rest stop right here where I was situated. I would use the megaphone to let the riders coming down the hill know that there was water available here at the bottom of the hill. And otherwise, if I just yelled at them, I would have worn out my voice pretty quickly. So the megaphone does come in handy at certain locations.